Hey everybody, I wanted to tell you about a unique, unbelievable opportunity here. There's a lot here. The SEC today suing Coinbase. The key here in the difference between Binance and Coinbase, the SEC is basically saying that Binance is a shady operating system versus Coinbase is just getting sued because ultimately they are basically pushing unregulated securities or securities that are not registered. Oh, hey, what's going on?
What charts are we looking at today?
ExxonMobil, check this out. Exxon's gotten crushed in the last week or two, straight down from 120 to 102.75. Look at this trend line right here, right through this low, right here. This tells me there's a high probability of a bounce coming in Exxon. I'm a long player here. I am long Exxon. Oh, hey, what's going on?
What charts are we looking at
Dude,
today?
check this out. So look at these parallel lines, how it all aligns. Basically, this high to this high, these highs right through that high, these highs here, and look at the bear flag forming. What this tells us, here's your next parallel. This is likely going to dip down to this level. You're looking at a target on Ethereum at around 1,600. Be ready for a fall, folks. Next week or two, this thing is going down.
All right, it does feel like we are live. We are live. Okay, great. So today we have Bitcoin back over the 200-week moving average, which is absolutely amazing. And I wonder if Gareth has changed his junior. So let me get Gareth in here. Gareth, welcome, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Rand. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Guys, so, you know, a lot of you don't know, but I feel like I've known Gareth forever. And we only actually met face-to-face in Miami. And since then, our bromance has become bigger and bigger, right, Gar?
That's right. Absolutely.
Listen, let's get straight into the charts. And specifically, I want to talk about the bull run in the NASDAQ and the S&P, or specifically, it's actually all markets. It's Japan, it's the DAX, it's the CAC, it is the NASDAQ. All of the previous ones at all-time highs. The NASDAQ up 40% this year. The S&P just a couple of percent away. Sorry, there we go. Just a couple of percent from its all-time highs. How are you calling this market?
Yeah, so there's no doubt that I've been surprised by the move up that we've seen in the tech stocks. So especially large cap tech, that's been carrying this whole entire move. And interestingly enough, you could see this move on the NASDAQ and how vertical it's been. But if you look at the RSP, and this is kind of very telling, this is the equal weight S&P 500. Look at the equal weight S&P 500. So again, you can see that we're still sideways overall in the S&P when you take all the stocks, the 500 stocks at equal weights versus the way the indices are structured, where the market caps are the bigger the market cap, the bigger the weighting. So what that tells us is that there's been a handful of stocks that have been leading this charge higher, the Nvidias of the world, the Teslas of the world, the Microsofts, the Apples, etc., the trillion-dollar companies essentially. So I'm still somewhat skeptical. I'd like to just bring up a couple little things for you guys here. Let me see if I can find this on the charts, the NASDAQ composite. So if you look at the NASDAQ composite, right, from the lows, we're about 38% to the upside. All right, so that's the low on the NASDAQ. We actually fell 38%. We've rallied back 38%. Now, if we go to the weekly chart and I scroll back to the dot-com bubble, this is kind of interesting here. In the dot-com bubble, we collapsed 41%. We rallied 41% before the downside came back in. And we obviously went down about 75, 80% after that. So while I think this is an amazing move to the upside, I just want to bring a little bit of logic. You know, I'm all about data and logic. Past history has shown us, and by the way, I'm not saying this is another .com. I'm just saying past history of bull markets, when they collapse, we get these meteoric bounces that are almost equal. And again, to look at the .com and see a 41% drop and then a 41% bounce before we dropped 80 more percent, that's powerful. Now, lastly, I just got to show you this because you guys know I don't like just 2 data points. I want more data points. The more data points, the better. So if we go to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and we go back to the 1929 crash. Check this out.
I mean, that's okay? A data point almost 100 years ago.
Right. So look at this. In 1929, the markets collapsed 50%. We rallied 52%. And then the Great Depression took over. So again, let's be clear. The markets have been making me wrong for the last month or two. There's no doubt about it. I've been surprised by how how much money has flown into some of these mega cap stocks and how much the markets have rallied to the upside. But having said that, you have a Fed that's saying now they're going to tighten 2 more times the rest of the year. The market wasn't prepared for that. We're now going into a quiet period where the stock market, individual stocks that are doing buybacks, they can't buy now going into earnings. So I'm interested to see that. And then you also have data like the jobless claims, which was for the first time, we saw the biggest jump 2 weeks ago of jobless claims, which is people filing for unemployment, that we have seen since 2021. So if you do see a slowdown, I don't think the market's pricing in any negative news here. If we do see negative news, then the stock market likely will come back in. Having said that, could we go up a little bit more? There's always that chance.
Okay, so let's just summarize it at these levels, and I'm talking to you levels of the Nasdaq at 15,000, long or short.
So I'm short. I'm relatively heavily short at this point.
Okay, so that's a good call. Let's talk about Bitcoin, and specifically, let's say you were half right and half wrong. You were right about Bitcoin, you were wrong about the Nasdaq. You shorted Bitcoin at 30,000. We are way below 30,000, and I'm going to add, just for our viewers, that you actually shorted a lot of the altcoins at that same period, and those altcoins have been much, much, much harder hit.
Yeah.
This Bitcoin ETF news, before you look at the charts, how big do you think a BlackRock ETF could be for Bitcoin? Really? Like, I know you're a gold bull, and I know that a lot of people say that the big reason, or one of the big reasons for gold's meteoric rise, was because of the BlackRock ETF, the GLD ETF. Do you think that the same thing could happen with Bitcoin?
I do. I think a spot ETF is a huge game changer to allow retail to kind of fully get in. And when I'm not talking about retail crypto people, we're already in, right? It's about the other people that are maybe a little on the older side, where it starts to give confidence, right? So we saw the futures ETF come out. That was even in the bull market, and we saw the collapse. So it doesn't mean you can't have bear markets when you have a spot ETF. But what it does is it's basically saying that the government, the SEC, is giving the green light. And the reason I say that, and you can say, well, it's not approved yet, so why are they giving the green light? But when you have a company that manages $11 trillion and is that close to the government, you can't tell me that they didn't consult the SEC and say, hey, can we launch this ETF? And what this is doing, by the way, this is separating. You see Bitcoin dominance breaking out in this scenario as people start to say, okay, the SEC is fine with Bitcoin. Bitcoin will remain as is going forward. Therefore, it's safer to invest in Bitcoin. And so again, I do